can our first trip to Disney Springs for table service impress? Let's find out. I've decided that I'm going to eat at every table service location on Disney property, but free will isn't nearly as fun, so this week, the wheel decided to give us something new to do and landed on Springs for the first time in the table service series. And while it was very, very close to landing on House of Blues, it did settle on Wolfgang Puck Bar and Grill. Opening in 2018, Wolfgang Puck Bar and Grill is a restaurant in the town center at Disney Springs. It's owned by Wolfgang Puck, who, if you don't know, is an Austrian chef best known for his empire of restaurants. According to his website, he owns 21 restaurants around the globe, but Disney's Wolfgang Puck Bar and Grill is one of just 2 of its kind in the world, the other of which is in Vegas. And I've heard a rumor that the only major difference between the two is that while what happens at the Wolfgang Puck Bar and Grill in Vegas stays at the Wolfgang Puck Bar and Grill, what happens at the Wolfgang Puck Bar and Grill in Disney Springs is immediately broadcast to the whole world by Wolfgang Puck himself, so watch out for that. Before his bar and grill opened, Wolfgang Puck did have a presence at Disney Springs, or Downtown Disney as it was then called, in the form of Wolfgang Puck Cafe. And if you can't already tell by how much this photo screams the 90s, this place doesn't exist anymore. It closed in 2017 to make way for Haleo by Jose Andres. He also did have a quick service location, Wolfgang Puck Express, which has since been replaced by Eat by Manit Chauhan. And after those closures, Wolfgang Puck Bar and Grill went into previously unused space by the Coca-Cola store. So, to sum it up, Puck moved out, Andreas and Chauhan moved in, and then Puck decided he wanted to stay and built himself a new house. Got it? Great, there'll be a test later. And before we do get started, this is my obligatory mention that if you are interested in eating at Wolfgang Puck Bar and Grill, you should make a reservation. Walk-up lists are available, but are not always promised depending on the demand. I mean, we were literally the only people in the restaurant when we got here at 3:45, but as we ate our meal, it started to fill up. So if this place piques your interest, make that reservation. Even though it is not owned by Disney, you can still make a reservation 60 days in advance through Disney. So, let's go to Disney Springs for my first time at Wolfgang Puck Bar and Grill. And let's get rankings, starting with the theme. I've got to be honest here, do you know what the theme is giving? We are young. Hey, there's a fire in our soul. I mean, you've got the exposed wood beams, the high ceilings, that kind of exposed lighting look. There's pictures of Wolfgang Puck on the walls, in black and white, of course. Look, I'm not saying it's a bad theme. It actually did feel quite nice to be in here. But it still did feel like I was eating in somebody's house or a barn-turned-loft. I know that's the vibe and aesthetic it's going for, and I don't completely hate it, so I won't completely knock it. But I still think it's silly how on the nose it is. The outside, though, is lifeless. It looks like a boring corporate building, and it gives none of the vibes that the inside gives. So regardless of the stereotype of the inside, I'm at least glad it had a little more life than the outside does. Now let's move on to the food. Wolfgang Puck's restaurants are described as having a California cuisine, and I don't really know what that means, but I assume that's true here as well. Now, Wolfgang Puck is open for lunch and dinner, opening an hour earlier on the weekends, with little to no menu changes between the two. And because it is third party, Disney dining plans are not accepted here. But if you want to try some of what Wolfgang's cooking up in there, but you don't want to make the reservation and sit down to eat the whole meal, there is a small quick service window just outside the restaurant. They mainly serve drinks and desserts, but they have a few pizza options on the menu as well. For our appetizer, we got the tortilla soup. Now, our server was nice enough to split it up into 2 portions since we were gonna share. So for once, you don't have to watch me gobble down multiple bites of Emily's meal. Everybody say thank you, Madison. Now, the soup was the highlight of the meal for me. It was delicious. I kind of compared it to tomato soup in the sense that I called it a more zesty tomato soup. It had the texture and the base flavor of a tomato soup, but it added more spices and made it unique. But thankfully, for me and my baby palate, it wasn't spicy at all. And the toppings, there's avocado and some tortilla strips on top. The toppings make it more interesting, both in texture and flavor. Overall, I would have been content ordering a whole second round of this and calling it my dinner because it was so good. For my main, I got the bacon-wrapped meatloaf, and I thought it was also very good. The meatloaf itself was delicious, and the bacon added to it in a way that complemented it without overpowering it. The mashed potatoes underneath were also so good. They were very thin, but they still had plenty of flavor. A very buttery flavor at that. And of course, that sauce was amazing. On its own, each element of this dish was delicious, but when you get a bite together, it was just wonderful. I loved it. In the words of Tobey Maguire in the 2004 masterpiece Spider-Man 2, pizza time. Because Emily got the 4-cheese pizza. Remember when I said you wouldn't have to watch me gobble down multiple bites of Emily's food? Well, that wasn't true for very long. I stole a whole slice. Right after stealing the pizza time joke from her, which she told in the restaurant when she got her food. So I stole her food, and I stole her joke.
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
I'm openly admitting it. She is funnier than me. Now this pizza is topped with pesto, fresh veggies, and 4 cheeses, only one of which I remember, it's goat cheese. And this was a very good pizza. It was the perfect amount of cheesy, and the veggies on top were very fresh and added a lot. Now I will say, considering she did pick it because of the goat cheese, I was disappointed to find that you could barely taste the goat cheese. All the cheeses just kind of blended together into one general cheese flavor that was good, but no particular cheese stood out, especially not the goat cheese. But since that one flavor of cheeses was delicious, I'm not complaining much. And for dessert, we got the giant warm chocolate chip cookie. This is topped with vanilla gelato and a caramel sauce that you can pour to your liking, and just look how beautiful that is. I think I'm in love with it. For real. I'm ready to meet its parents. It was nice and warm, so it all just kind of melted together with the ice cream and the sauce, and it created this wonderful, gooey masterpiece. It almost reminded me of a cake when all was said and done, because it combined so beautifully. But also, independently, the vanilla gelato was exceptionally good. It tasted very fresh. I will admit, I didn't have my eye on this before we sat down. I was planning on ordering a different dessert, but I am very glad we went with this. Overall, the food here really did impress me. I went in, to tell you the truth, with little to no expectations, and I walked out with a very delicious meal in my belly, so I'm not complaining. Lastly, did I discover something? Would I choose to eat here over the choices I usually make at Disney Springs? I think I very well could. Now, I know it's not the most unique place in the world. There's dozens of restaurants in your hometown that could probably give you the same vibe and food quality that this restaurant delivered. Sorry, Wolfgang, it's just true. So in terms of unique to Disney Springs recommendations, it's not the most unique. If you're looking for that unique Disney experience, it's not here. It might not be at the top of my recommendation list for people coming here on vacation, but if you just don't really care about the theming and you're just looking for a good meal, or if you're a local, like me, so theming isn't really a deal breaker, I absolutely can recommend it. And I do think I'll be back, because the food was delicious. And that's the important part. So overall, because the theme wasn't the most unique, but the food was really great, I am gonna place Wolfgang Puck Bar Grill in 3rd place out of 11. And I'm gonna put it in the great category. Our first Springs location absolutely came to impress. Now tell me, have you been to Wolfgang Puck Bar Grill? Do you like Wolfgang Puck Bar Grill? Was Wolfgang Puck Bar Grill on your radar before this video came up? Did you take a sip of your drink every time I said Wolfgang Puck Bar Grill in this video? And if you did, can you still see straight? Let me know in the comments. But we'll see what's next.